Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello and welcome back to Around the World Today. I'm your host, Terry Davis, and today we are continuing our journey through the British Overseas Territories. In the last episode, we explored the strategic significance of Gibraltar, a key location at the gateway of the Mediterranean. Today, we're travelling far south to a remote and often windswept archipelago that has a special place in British history. The Falkland Islands. The Falklands are famous. Their geographical importance and for being the site of a fierce conflict between Britain and Argentina in 1982. But there's more to these islands than just military history. Today, we dive into the Falklands' unique environment, its small but resilient population, and how this distinct territory continues to be vital to the United Kingdom. The Falkland Islands, known locally by the Argentinians as Islas Malvinas, are located 500 kilometers off the coast of South America, in the South Atlantic Ocean. They consist of two main islands, East Falkland and West Falkland, as well as over 700 smaller islands. Together, they cover an area of roughly 12,000 square kilometres, which is about half the size of Wales. The terrain is rugged and often chilly, with a population of just over 3,000 people, most of whom live in the capital, Stanley, on East Falkland. The history of the Falklands is one of complex colonial claims. Throughout the 18th and 19th century, the islands were occupied by both British and French settlers, as well as Spanish and Argentine forces. Britain first established control in 1833, and since then the Falklands have remained a British overseas territory. However, Argentina has long claimed these islands as their own, and this dispute erupted into full-scale war in 1982, when the Argentine forces invaded the islands. The war lasted for 74 days, resulting in a British victory, and the reaffirmed the belief of British sovereignty over these islands. The Falklands War and its legacy. The Falklands War was a significant moment in modern history. In April 1982, Argentina, under a military dictatorship of General Gutierrez, launched a surprise invasion of the Falkland Islands. Britain, led by Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, responded with a military task force. And after intense fighting, both on land and at sea, British forces reclaimed the islands in June of the same year. The war resulted in the loss of over 900 lives, both British and Argentinian, and its legacy continues to shape the identity of the Falkland Islanders. Since the conflict, the UK has maintained a strong military presence in the Falklands, with Mount Pleasant Air Base acting as a strategic defence point in the South Atlantic, while relations between the UK and Argentina have fraught somewhat since the war. The sovereignty of the islands remains a point of contention, especially in Argentina. Politics. However, despite an ongoing dispute, the people of the Falklands have made their views clear. In a 2013 referendum, nearly 100% of the voters chose to remain a British overseas territory. This message was unequivocally that the Falklands see themselves as British. They wish to remain under British sovereignty. Life on the Falkland Islands, economy, culture, and society. Now, let's talk about what life is like for the people who call the Falklands home. With just over 3,000 residents, the islands are one of the smallest populations in any British overseas territory. However, what they lack in size, they make up for in resilience and self sufficiency. The people of the Falklands, known as the Kelpers, live in a close knit community where everyone knows everyone, despite the remote location. Life on the island is far from isolate. Economically, the Falkland Islands have developed a diverse and thriving economy. Traditionally, sheep farming was the main industry, with wool exports being the island's biggest export for much of the 20th century. However, in recent decades, the economy has shifted towards other industries, partially fishing and oil exploration. Fishing, especially squid, is now the largest economic sector, contributing to over 50% of the island's GDP. Tourism is growing, partially ecotourism, with the Falklands' unspoilt landscapes and adorned wildlife drawing visitors from around the world. The islands are a haven for birdlife, with 5 species of penguins calling the Falklands home, as well as sea lions, seals, and whales. The natural beauty of the remoteness of the Falklands provide a unique experience for adventurers and wildlife enthusiasts alike. Governance and political autonomy. Governance in the Falkland Islands is a blend of local autonomy and British oversight. The islands operate as a self-governing British overseas territory, meaning that while they have their own government and legislative assembly, the UK remains responsible for defence and foreign affairs. The Legislative Assembly of the Falkland Islands consists of 8 elected members who oversee the local economy, health services, and education. Falklanders have a strong sense of self-determination, and their government has worked to ensure that their voices are heard both in Britain and on an international stage. They have developed strong political institutions with a focus on sustainability and economic diversification to secure the future of the islands. While Britain continues to provide military protection, the Falklands are increasingly self-sufficient. The islands benefit from a significant revenues through fishing licenses and oil exploration, allowing them to fund their infrastructure such as education and healthcare and transport and everything else. Environmental concerns and sustainability. One of the most pressing issues facing the Falklands is the environmental impact. The islands are part of one of the world's largest great wilderness and their remoteness has helped to protect much of their natural beauty. However, climate change has posed a significant risk to the islands. Unique ecosystems, rising sea temperatures, overfishing, and potential oil spills from offshore drilling are ongoing concerns for the government of the Falkland Islands and the United Kingdom. In response, the Falkland Islands government has implemented strict environmental regulations to protect their natural resources. These measures include sustainable fishing practices, monitoring of oil exploration activities, and promoting ecotourism, that is, that prioritizes the conservation of wildlife. The people of the Falklands are deeply connected to their environment, and there is a strong commitment to balancing economic growth with environmental stewardship. So, as we've seen, the Falkland Islands may be small in size, but they are significant in the terms of global importance. Their resilient community and their unique natural environment. These islands continue to be a vital part of Britain's global network, both for strategic defence in the South Atlantic as a symbol of British sovereignty in the face of ongoing challenges. As we look through to the future, the Falklands will continue to evolve, navigating the delicate balance between development and conservation, autonomy and partnership with the UK. But one thing is clear: the Falklands are proud of their heritage and determined to chart their own course. That is it for today's episode. In our next installment, we'll journey north once again. This time, we're going to the Caribbean, to Bermuda, a territory which is rich in history as a maritime financial centre. So stay tuned for more of Around the World Today. And until next time, I'm Terry Davis, and thank you for listening to this episode.
This week's episode has come to an end, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share, and get involved. Join us next time.